Yo, what's up, guys? In this video, I've got Jacob, a previous client of mine. He went from feeling out of shape and lost to gaining structure both mentally and physically, all while being able to achieve lasting success. So let's dive into his transformation and hear his thoughts. Well, awesome, Jacob. So I know you're about a year out since we've actually worked together. So just want to ask you a few follow-up questions, just kind of see, how the process was when you were going through it, how it has been since you've been out of things, were you able to kind of create that lasting success? That sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And so, Jacob, I guess just kind of my first question for you. How was your process or how was your mindset changed in terms of since you've stopped the program?
So it kind of goes back a little further than that. Like I didn't really, it took me a little bit to buy into the program. It's a big change when you've never heard any of that information before.
Right.
So to kind of find a way to not only put that into your everyday life, but to kind of make it your habit. It was a huge learning curve. And once I think that was the hardest part of it, was to actually get to the point where it was habit and it was kind of came natural. And once I got to that point, it became insanely easy to kind of fit around it. And, the results spoke for themselves. I mean, I felt better. I looked better. I thought clear, the whole nine yards. And so after the program, like I stuck to it for a good little bit. Life got in the way.
Yeah.
Life
Right.
kind and it never really completely got away. I still adapt that diet and that mindset to this day. I still use those workouts. I took more so from the program, the knowledge and the mindset than I did the actual paperwork. That really did that stuck with me. I mean, still to this day, I still do the same training regimen. I put my own twists on it based on what I'm training for. When it comes down to how I eat, and I'll have my cheat days. I'll have my days where I kind of slack off,
Right.
but on a normal day of eating and a normal day of how I operate, it goes along with that plan pretty well. So it was pretty easy to stick to for sure.
Awesome, brother. Well, I'm glad you were able to get a lot out of it. And, as you know, and you've been through the program, a lot of what I focus on is definitely like mindset. Physical changes and that physical aspect of it is always great to have. But when it comes down to it, it's really about mindset. And I feel like that's kind of what's kept you pushing so far. Is that correct?
100% without a doubt. And that was the tricky thing about it is you kind of get into. I'm not gonna lie, you get into that program, you realize it sucks.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I miss eating that shit. I miss
Yeah.
eating, I miss eating, what I want to eat. I miss, skipping the gym every now and then. And so kind of breaking that mindset, holding it hostage, and really getting into the mindset that program is designed to get you into. I spent the least amount of time in that, like I spent more time in that other mindset breaking it than I did in the mindset that we were targeted for. But
Right.
that was the biggest benefit because yeah, I stopped the program a year ago, but that mindset hasn't changed. So I mean, I got more from that program in the last year when I stopped than I did during the little bit of time that I did it. So
Right. Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. So great to hear that. And just in terms of, when you were actually going through the program, I know you mentioned, you had that old mindset, you had your own way of living, and, what do you think was the biggest challenge? And then, how was I or the program able to kind of help you overcome that challenge throughout the program?
working the schedule that I was working, it was more so of a personal based issue. Is finding time to cook all your food the right way. I mean, you can throw together some ground beef and just hit your numbers. But if you're not getting into that, lean,
Right.
grass fed, the stuff that really matters within the diet, you're not going to see the full effects. You're not going to get the full effects mindset wise. So really paying attention to that and developing time and effort towards finding the sources that can get you that good product. That was a little obstacle, but once I found it, it was easy. And then do the discipline, sticking to it, not thinking that yeah, it's a long program. If I cheat up every now and then, I'll be all right. But sticking to it, really digging in that mindset that like, no, today's the day.
Right.
You gotta make sure that today you're 100% so that you can be 100% tomorrow too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and discipline's everything, when we've obviously talked about it and you obviously know now, right? Once that motivation gives up, the only thing that's going to kick in there, right, is discipline. And that's only built up through consistency.
100%.
Right. I guess another question. I mean, what surprised you about the program, or did you have any misconceptions coming in that, that were debunked or didn't seem like what you thought it was before?
Yeah, the typical, eat meat, be that raw kind of guy. It's gonna mess up all of your internals. It's gonna, that's not why we do it. Eat your fruits and veggies. That's the kind of, 3 square meals a day, that kind of stuff. It took me a little bit to kind of get my body used because the first couple of days, maybe like the first week you do it, you're like, man, this is a lot.
Right.
I don't know if I can keep this up. And then you kind of get to that second week and you're like, oh, that was easier. And then you
Right.
get to that fourth, fifth week, and you're just like, man, I'm hungry. Let's keep eating. And you got to control what you're doing. So I found that surprising that like towards the beginning of the program was taking in way more calories than I was on a daily basis beforehand. Kept with those calories, kept with that. The gym, 6, 7 days a week. And then by that halfway point, I was really, really just looking for it. I was, wake up in the morning, crave that first meal, and towards the end of the day, timed it just perfectly, and I'm
Right.
to the point where I'm ready for that last meal, and it's not too much, it's not too little. It was the perfect amount.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned it before, right? And we've been talking about consistency. First week may seem hard, second week gets a little bit easier. You think it's doable. By the time you're at that fourth, fifth week, right? This is now something that you've built into your lifestyle, and it's been crafted around your lifestyle based on your, work or personal goals, whatever the case may be. So it does allow it to be a little bit more flush there. So Jacob, if somebody was on the fence about working with me, I mean, what would you tell them in terms of, advice, past experiences, etc.?
Yeah, I would say that whatever worries you do have, maybe some past experience or some coaches or some personal trainers, in my experience with having personal trainers before, or guys that have sculpted my lifestyle for a little bit of time, it's a completely different experience. It's not I expect you to do this. This is what I'm giving you, do this or you're not going to get your money's worth. It's more so tailored to your well-being. The physical aspect is not what it's focused on. It helps, but it's not what it's focused on. And you do a really good job of emphasizing that most of your check-ins are not really physical. Yeah, you want to see the physique. Yeah, you want to see how the meals are going, but you really want to know where the head's at. And that was definitely the biggest difference between anything else that I've had and this experience was you were more so focused on what was going on, mindset wise than it was, physical wise. So that was a huge part for me.
Right.
And for somebody that's kind of on the fence about it, I'd say if you're looking for somebody that, and I'll take this experience, like, I stopped the program a year ago, and we don't talk nearly as much as we used to, but now a text every 2 months. Hey man, how's everything going? Are you still with it? If you're not, what's going on? Is there anything that I can help you with? Hey, I've got this other opportunity that I thought of you for. That long lasting relationship, it kind of builds. You don't have to go to the gym and make a gym bro friend. You can have a trainer who's genuinely vested in your well being and your future. That even though, go ahead and say it, even though you're not getting money from me, you're still invested in my future. You're still invested on how I'm doing. You still check in with me, and that was definitely a big thing for me. That's why the recommendation to go to you is 100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And first off, I appreciate the kind words. And the biggest thing, right? I do want to be that accountability part to show you that support. But what I like to tell a lot of my clients or potential clients, right? My success is literally created on your success or any other client's success, right? So at the end of the day, I want to see all my clients achieve. So I'm glad you were, able to get that out. And the monthly check-in's got to happen, man. I got to make sure you're still on the same
100%, dude.
grind, So
100%.
that's good to hear, man. And I mean, guess just kind of my last question. I mean, any final thoughts in terms of the program, like what you like the most, anything like that, kind of before we hop off here?
The dedication, dude. The dedication to my success. Like we've never met in person, but I know that there's a guy out there who's genuinely dedicated to what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So it's a big thing for me. It's I have a lot of support here from family, friends, whatnot. But when I get support, just complete blind optimism, and Yeah, that's a huge, huge thing for me. So it's definitely a relationship and an experience that I cherish. So I recommend it to anybody that I can. It's a great, great tool that I've used ever since I started, and it's a good way to get that. It's a good way to get that dog out.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got it out, man, it changed the game completely.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Well, Jacob, I really appreciate your time today, man. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna end the recording here.